Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be showing you the Beetle enclosure and how to set yours up if you're looking into it as well. On the very left hand side you can see we cut a hole for a dryer vent basically. That way you put a screen mesh over it, that way it has a little airflow going through the actual enclosure. On the very top we did cut a piece of plexiglass, that way you can see through the top, and then also we put one on the bottom below the metal, that way it creates a little air barrier for better insulation. Then right here we do have a Inkbird thermostat on the left and then an Inkbird humidifier on the right. On the left hand side it does show 79 degrees. Currently it's a little lower than that, which is turning on the radiant heat lamp, that way that starts running. Once it gets below 3 degrees difference, then it will start running it until it hits that 79 degree mark. For the humidifier, you don't want it to go above 56% or 60. I have it set at 56, that way it gives you a couple percent leeway. Right now it does show 24.5, so we are perfectly fine. That's just where you start to get into the danger zone once it gets up to that 60. Over on the side where the venting is, we do have a PC fan right there that is blowing it out. Once it hits that, it turns on the outlet, which will start running the fan until it blows out the air. This also helps with the smell. This way the smell goes out through the window, through a pipe, instead of just venting it into the garage. It really does help. And also with the humidifier, you never have to worry about having anything go wrong where you start to get mites or anything like that. Also on the right hand side, you can see we set up a power strip on the side of it. That way it just keeps some of the cords nice and tidied up. That both powers the Inkbirds, the lights, the fan, and the GoPro. Overall, it was pretty simple to set up. It wasn't anything too difficult to figure out. It was just time consuming to figure out what you actually needed to do. That way the Beetles are good to go. For the freezer route, you do have to cut a few holes. So you do have the dryer vent hole that you have to cut on the side. And then you also have to cut the hole for the PC fan. Then there's just 2-3 other small, simpler holes to cut through for the lights, for the thermostat, the probe actually, the humidifier probe, and also the radiant lamp. On the very top left you can see the radiant heat lamp that we're using. Very cheap. It doesn't give off any light, it only gives off heat, which is very good for our uses. Down below you can see we have baking soda and salt. That just helps keep the humidity down as well, and the baking soda helps contain some of the smell as well. The big block that has all the aluminum tape over it is a bunch of patio pavers actually. This is to create a better heat sink for that radiant lamp to radiate onto. Prior to putting it in there, it would run for about 15 minutes to get up to heat, and then it would turn off for 15 and then go right back on. Since we've added the heatsink, it can turn on for 15 minutes and then turn on for 30 minutes, increasing the efficiency by 100%. Most of the space that it was heating was just air, so we solved that problem by putting the patio pavers in there, which allowed it to hold heat even better. Just like how a full freezer runs a lot smoother and more efficient, same goes with heating the freezer. Across the enclosure, you can see the corners have been taped over with aluminum tape. Beetles can't climb over aluminum tape since it is so slick. And then we have multiple lines going up the side of the freezer in case they try to climb up. They will just fall right back down. With the venting, you do want to make sure that you have mesh over it. That way no bugs can get in and no bugs can get out. On the sides you can see I put a lot of aluminum tape over where those holes are. They are 4-inch diameter holes, but since it was so cold out at the time of recording this video, it was probably around 20 degrees. We didn't need that much venting since the humidity was low. We could leave it fairly cut off since we didn't need any more of the space. During summer, however, we will most likely be needing to pull that off so it can have a better airflow. Now for the actual beetles, you will be using newspaper clippings on the very bottom. After that, you will put aspen on top of it about another inch. This will allow them to have a little different substrate down there. Do not use pine or things like that, as it does have a natural pesticides inside of it. Good ways to find aspen shavings are at different pet supply stores and places like that. When the bugs want to pupate, they do need a safe place to do it, so those big blocks are styrofoam blocks. That way they can eat their way into it and then they pupate and then they come out. If you don't have styrofoam, then they will run into the problems of cannibalizing each other, and that'll really slow down your colony for growth rate. Now, if you don't use styrofoam, there is another way of using cotton balls pushed down together. I haven't used that, so I don't know how well it works, but I have seen people have pretty good success with it. The overall price for this enclosure was right around $150 to $175. That all just depends on if you have some of these things on hand, then it's a lot cheaper. For what you get out of this enclosure, this is definitely worth the price versus doing an aquarium setup or anything like that, since you do get that insulation factor right off the bat, and the actual freezer is free, so you can't really beat that. Other than that, guys, that's pretty much all I have in this video. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below. And yeah, thanks for watching.